Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtuprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So today we are continuing with the discussion on Bhagavad Gita as it is, starting new chapter, chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute. So previous chapter, Krishna ended with this shloka that, and of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. So he clearly said Bhakti Yoga is the highest. So further speaking on this yoga. Now, as I said, chapter 1 through 6 of Bhagavad Gita is Karma Yoga. 7 through 12 is Bhakti and 13 through 18 is Jnana. So now it's the beginning of Bhakti Yoga because he has already stressed in the last verse of 6th chapter. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Maya Asakta Mana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya Asanchayam Samagram Yatha Gyasyasi Tat Shrinu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said. See, Vedvyasji always write Shri Bhagwan Vacha. He never said Krishna Vacha. When Arjun has to ask him somebody, he calls him with different names. Whether Madhav or Krishna or Varshneya, but Vedvyasji always writes Shri Bhagwan Vacha, that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So Bhakti Yoga, he said that is the topmost end of 6th chapter. Now he is going to take this yoga further, this Bhakti Yoga. So this is clear how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. And the chapter is called Knowledge of the Absolute. Full knowledge of the Absolute. In this 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described. Krishna is full in all opulences, and how he manifests such opulences is described here. Also, 4 kinds of fortunate people who become attached to Krishna and 4 kinds of unfortunate people who never take to Krishna are described in this chapter. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the living entity has been described as a non-material spirit soul capable of elevating himself to self-realization by different types of yogas. At the end of 6th chapter, it has been clearly stated that the steady concentration of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is the highest form of yoga. By concentrating one's mind upon Krishna, one is able to know the absolute truth completely, but not otherwise. Impersonal Brahmjyoti or localized Paramatma realization is not perfect knowledge of the absolute truth, because it is partial. It's not complete, it's not full. Full and scientific knowledge is Krishna, and everything is revealed to the person in Krishna consciousness. In complete Krishna consciousness, one knows that Krishna is the ultimate knowledge beyond any doubts. Krishna says in this shloka, Yatha gyasasi tatshuna, without any, beyond any doubts. Asanchayam samagram. So one can know him. beyond any doubts. So generally people have doubts about Krishna. How can this little boy who was stealing butter from others' houses, how can that be Supreme Personality of Godhead? How can this boy who was dancing in the middle of the night with so many young girls, how can that be Supreme Personality of Godhead? See, the thing is, one has to know him in full. Then one can appreciate his position, appreciate his pastime. So without knowing him, and that too free of any doubts, how can one be certain about his position? Different types of yoga are only stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahmjyoti and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, the material nature, and their manifestation and periphery. So by practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, so it's not going to happen overnight, obviously not. The realizations or the knowledge comes in, more and more knowledge comes in as we spiritualize or purify ourselves more and more. Then we learn about it. Because this knowledge is given by Krishna, depending upon our surrender. He says that in 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So more we practice this bhakti yoga, more his mercy comes in, and more we know about it. Just like we distribute Bhagavad Gitas on the streets all over the world. But just because I have this book, can I understand it on my own? No. What to speak of Bhagavad Gita? Even our material course, like engineering books are available all over the market. And now we can even Google search everything we want to. But would that make me an engineer? Would that make me understand engineering books on my own? No, I need a teacher. So what to speak of spiritual knowledge? So when I make progress under the guidance of a teacher, reading like we read Prabhupada's commentaries. And then when we make progress, then Krishna's mercy comes in. Then we can understand this, realize this knowledge properly. And more we progress, more realizations will come. Same Bhagavad Gita. We read in the beginning of our Bhakti Yoga process, we'll make something out of it. But same Bhagavad Gita, if we read after 20 years of practice, will definitely have different meaning, different realizations. It's the same Bhagavad Gita, same sentence, same everything, but realizations will be different. So, as I said, it's not a one-day thing that in one day we'll understand everything. It takes time. It takes practice. One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. Concentration of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme, is made possible by prescribed devotion service in 9 different forms, of which Shravanam is the first and most important. Shravanam means hearing. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, Tat Shranam, or hear from me. No one can be a greater authority than Krishna. And therefore, by hearing from him, one receives the greatest opportunity to become a perfectly Krishna conscious person. So, hearing from Krishna, Arjuna heard from Krishna, we can say that, okay, he became perfect. What about us? Well, we have Bhagavad Gita. That's why Ved Vyasji compiled it in the form of a book. So we can read it. And reading Bhagavad Gita and hearing directly from Krishna is the same thing. It's Krishna's words. And on top of it, now when Arjun heard from Krishna and this conversation happened for about 48 minutes, they say. So he understood everything in 48 minutes because he was at that level. He was very, very pure soul. For us, if it takes 48 lifetimes, we'll be very lucky. But at the same time, we have by mercy of Prabhupada, who gave such commentaries, we can at least try to understand the meaning of those shlokas. If somebody had said in Sanskrit, whatever these shlokas are, I don't think I would understand anything. What's the meaning behind it? Forget about translation. Even I won't even know the translation. And commentary? No way. So, by reading Bhagavad Gita, especially this Bhagavad Gita as it is, because I follow ISKCON Bhagavad Gita as it is, Prabhupada's books. So not only Krishna's mercy, because Krishna is happy that I'm trying to read his words, trying to understand his words. And then we get the mercy of Prabhupada, mercy of previous acharyas also, that he is trying to understand Bhagavad Gita and follow the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So they give the mercy by which I can understand it more and more. So this is devotion service, this is Bhakti Yoga. And that's why Prabhupada says that Shravanam is the first and most important. The Lord therefore says to Arjun, touch or hear from me. No one can be a greater authority than Krishna. And therefore, by hearing from him, one receives the greatest opportunity to become a perfectly Krishna conscious person. One has therefore to learn from Krishna directly or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from a non-devotee, upstart, puffed up with academic education. So, one thing is, yes, as Prabhupada said, one should hear or learn from Krishna or pure devotee, because Krishna has already conveyed to Arjuna that you are a devotee, you're my friend, that's why I'm giving you this knowledge. So means only a devotee can understand Krishna's words first, and then he can speak further and others can understand. But the others who are trying to understand, or the devotee also, what should be their mood when they approach Bhagavad Gita? Krishna said in third chapter, fourth chapter, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya. Tadvidhi pranipatena. Pranipaten means surrender. Pariprashnena sevya. Sevya means serve. And then do your questioning. And questioning, once I serve somebody and surrender, obviously my questioning won't be in a challenging mood. In a humble mode, well, we have to understand, but not in a challenging mode. Then we cannot understand. Even in school or colleges when we went, did we challenge the teacher? We never challenged him. We asked questions for clarification. We never challenged, say, chemistry teacher or math teacher, physics teacher, saying, oh, you don't know anything, I know everything, I know better than you. We never did that. So, why in the spiritual world? So, one who approaches a guru in that mood, then he can learn. Updekshanti te jnanam jnanina sattvadarshina. Then they will give the knowledge because they have seen the truth. So that can only be a pure devotee of the Lord. And as Prabhupada said, not from a non-devotee upstart puffed up with academic education. There's so many people who have written commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. But many of them are written from their scholarly point of view, which is not the approach, or is not the result of Bhagavad Gita understanding either. Scholarly approach. And that's why they miss the point. And when somebody reads their commentaries, they cannot understand anything anyway, and they'll not get the full benefit of reading Bhagavad Gita. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this process of understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, this process means the Shravanam part, is described in the second chapter of first canto as follows. Shranvatam sukatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana hirdanthasto yavadrani vidunoti suritsata ashtaprayesha vadareshu nityam bhagavata seveya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtiki. So this verse is from Bhagavatam, and we always speak when we start Bhagavad Gita class or Bhagavatam class. And then what happens once one is established, Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki, establishes in Bhagavad Gita Bhakti, Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kama Lobha Deyascha Chaye, Cheta Etarana Vidham Stitam Sattve Prasidati, Stitam Sattve. Then he comes to the level of Sattvagun. And then one, Evam Prasana Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata, Bhagavad Tattva Vijnana Mukta Sangasya Jayate. Then his Prasana Manaso, he's happy, he's content, and he's established in Bhakti Yoga. And then Vidyate Hridaya Granthe, Chidyante Sarva Sanshaya. Means whatever the knots in his heart, knots of material entanglement, they all Vidyate, they all are torn apart or open up. So the meaning Prabhupada has given, to hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita is itself the righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who's dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. So purifies a devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. So what is this purification? So the real purification is not of the body, it's the purification of our consciousness. So the consciousness goes from being the enjoyer or controller of the material world, of the material energies, to the servant or lover of Krishna. Krishna and Krishna's energies also. Same energy, material world. We were trying to control and enjoy, and now we are trying to serve. Huge change in consciousness, paradigm shift, they say. It happens when we hear properly, from proper source and the proper books. In this way, devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. See, every sentence of Prabhupada is amazing. A devotee, so not just any person can do that, but a devotee naturally develops. Naturally, it's not something artificially imposed. This knowledge is not artificially imposed. This is there. As Prabhupada is dormant transcendental knowledge. So it's there in everybody. It's not something new. It just has been covered over. So by hearing again and again, and by engaging in other devotional practices, we are removing that covering. So the real knowledge, which is dormant and which is natural, it just shines forth. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. because that's his natural constitutional position. Right now we are in some artificial positions. I'm Indian and I'm American and I'm Chinese and then we are fighting based on our body, Israel and Palestine. Look at it. In the original position, they are not Jews or Muslims or Hindus or Christians. Notice that. These are all bodily designations. But we get so entangled in these designations, we start thinking this is the truth. And we have to act according to this truth. So the real cleanliness of purification takes place when we study the right books, come to the right level of knowledge. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lusts and avarice are diminished. And this certainly all these activities, and every activity in the material world is basically in the mode of passion or ignorance, or a combination. Mode of goodness, very little, especially in Kali Yuga, very little. Mostly in passion and ignorance. And when we develop devotional service, this material lust and avarice are diminished. Material lust is what? We want to try these senses, this body, that's it. Senses want some gratification, some enjoyment. And the soul, because the mind is conditioned, is running throughout the life, not just life after life, just to satisfy the senses. There's nothing else. Dogs are running, cats are running, human beings are running. And Prabhupada gave a nice analogy. Once he went to the Ford motor plant in Detroit, and the engineer there, he was showing Prabhupada, oh Swamiji, we have developed these wonderful cars and they go 0 to 100 in whatever 30 seconds or whatever the standard is. And Prabhupada, being Prabhupada, transcendently situated, he said, you are running on 4 wheels, a dog is running on 4 legs. What's the difference? All the difference is you're running faster than dog. I mean, dog is running on 4 legs for sense gratification only, right? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. These are the 4 activities. And one is running on 4 wheels in a nice motor car. What is he running there for? Running for? So what's the difference? If in human form of life, we're doing the same things that the dogs and cats are doing, what's the big deal? But we are so proud of our advancement and achievements that we don't even want to worry about or care for the spiritual aspect of life. And when so Prabhupada says, thus Bhakti Yoga serves the severs, vidyate, hard knot of material affection. A hard knot means when you tie up knots one after another, it becomes so hard that we cannot undo it, cannot open it. But Bhakti Yoga, it cuts it. Hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asanshayam samagram, understanding of the absolute truth, personality of Godhead. So there's Krishna is saying that. So Bhakti Yoga, by Bhakti Yoga, one can do that. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. So only by hearing. It starts with hearing, but there are 9 processes, and hearing and chanting are the most important. But it starts with hearing. Also, like it is mentioned that when we are sleeping, our ears are always open, so we can, if we hear something, if we are in danger, we hear, we can get up and protect ourselves. So this hearing sense is very, very important. And now we are sleeping in the mode of ignorance and the lapse of Maya. And when we hear the right words, the right message, then we can wake up to our spiritual position and be saved. We can save ourselves. So hearing, who do we hear from and what do we hear? That is important. And further, Krishna says, Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyami asheshataha yaj gyatva neh bhuyo anyaj gyata avyam avshishyate gyatavyam avshishyate. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. You can imagine, in the middle of the battlefield, Krishna is saying, the knowledge I'm going to give you, you don't need to know anything further. Nothing further shall remain for you to know. So both phenomenal and numinous. So jnanam is phenomenal and vijnanam numinous, means theoretical and practical both. Complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. This is complete knowledge. And Krishna himself said there's nothing more to know beyond this. Then what about all the technical knowledge that we have? How does that fit in? Well, basically the technical knowledge, what does it do? It entangles us more and more in the material world, not takes us out of it. Whether we are computers engineer or surgeon or space, we have space knowledge, it entangles us more and more. That is a problem. Nobody says one should not learn technical knowledge to make a living. Of course, those who are fully surrendered, Krishna does take care of them also. But if we are not fully surrendered, we need to make a living. We need to earn money so we can live comfortably. But again, how much is our need and how much is our greed, that we have to see. And there is no end to greed. So if we have to have greed, we should have greed for spirituality. But the greed for material possessions, material knowledge, it would only entangle us, take us to next body, next body, next body, next body. That's it. But the transcendental knowledge takes us out of it. And Krishna says, this is the full knowledge I'm going to give you. This is transcendental knowledge. The Lord wants to explain the above mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna's confidential devotee and friend. It's only a devotee and friend. And later on, another quality is given that is required. One to appreciate, get this knowledge and implement it. In the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord, and it is again confirmed here. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in disciplic succession, directly from the Lord. Therefore, one should be intelligent enough to know the source of all knowledge, who is the cause of all causes, and the only object for meditation in all types of yoga practice. So one should be intelligent, and one can only know this if he hears from the right source. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known, and nothing remains unknown. Cause of all causes. If we have heard about Buddhist philosophy, little bit I have heard, and they always talk about cause and effect. Cause and effect, cause and effect. But what's the cause? Effect we know. But what's the cause, original cause? They don't know. They, according to them, it's all void, zero, nothingness. That's the cause. But how come from zero came so much of variety, so much of effects, whether in the different species or varieties of activities, karma? How come it all came from zero? They cannot explain that. So here Krishna says, or Bhagavatam actually say, not Brahma Samhita, Krishna is the source of everything. Lord Brahma said that. Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the cause of everything, all causes. Yes, he has created everything, but then it's up to our desire, then we do the activity and we get the reactions. So further Krishna says, so knowledge and the effect of knowledge he has spoken. But what happens is, Manushyanam sahasreshu kashyad yatati siddhai yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvata. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. But then the question arises, then why should one try? It's so difficult. The point is, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And out of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Means on his own, when one tries, like for jnanis. First, they don't endeavor the real perfection, and even if they endeavor and offer to those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So on our own, we cannot know him in truth. But when he gives us mercy, then what is there that we cannot achieve? So Krishna Prabhupada explains, there are various grades of men, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is the self, what's the body, and what's the absolute truth. Generally, mankind is simply engaged in the animal propensities, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. And hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge. The first 6 chapters of Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the super self, and the process of realization through proper realization by Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Krishna can be known only by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. So we can say, well, this is going in circles. We cannot come to Krishna consciousness until we know Krishna, and until we know Krishna, how can we be in Krishna consciousness? So this coming to Krishna consciousness and then knowing and then making further progress. The point of coming in Krishna consciousness, that depends, that happens by the mercy of a devotee. Krishna further explains, he's neutral. He's samoham sarvabhute. I am equal to all. Because everybody is his creation. He loves everybody. But the devotees, that's where the devotee part comes in. Acharya, Guru, they can bestow special mercy on a suffering soul. And then Krishna has to accept that person because he loves his devotees. Then it is up to the devotee, the newcomer, how and whether to make progress and how and what speed to make progress. Devotee is always there to help, but ultimately it's up to the individual's endeavor. So that is where the trick is. Prabhupada says, how Krishna can be known only by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization, for this is easier than understanding Krishna. Krishna is the supreme person, not Nirakar and Nirgun. People like to say so many things about this. But he's a person. At the same time, he is beyond the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. The yogis and jnanis are confused in their attempts to understand Krishna. Although the greatest of the impersonalists, Sripad Shankaracharya, has admitted in his Gita commentary that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He has admitted that. He has said that Narayana Paro Avyaktat. His followers do not accept Krishna as such, for it is very difficult to know Krishna. Even though one has transcendental realization of impersonal Brahman, it's very difficult. This is what we were studying in Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Guru, a scholar of impersonal realization, with impersonal realizations. But now he got the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, Supreme Lord. But how did he get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Because of the mercy of Gopinath Acharya, his brother-in-law, who was a devotee of Mahaprabhu, and he just desired that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya should also become a Vaishnava. So he got the mercy of Gopinath Acharya, and then, of course, he was a scholar, very pure soul, ended up serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he got the mercy of Mahaprabhu, and he became such a great devotee. So otherwise, it's very difficult for impersonal, those who are in impersonal line, to know Krishna, to understand Krishna. Gopinath Acharya said the same thing. The Supreme Lord is in your house, yet you cannot understand him because you don't have his mercy. This is how difficult it is to know Krishna. To know Krishna. Well, we can talk about Krishna, and we can appreciate his pastimes, especially the childhood pastimes. But these are good, actually. It makes us begin on this path. The 7th chapter, Krishna only explains 4 kind of people come to me. And they all are considered pious. Krishna is the supreme personality of God, the cause of all causes, the primeval Lord Govinda. Brahma Samhita says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Nadir Govinda Sarva Karan Karan. It's very difficult for the non-devotees to know him. Although non-devotees declare that the path of bhakti or devotion service is very easy, they cannot practice it. If the path of bhakti is so easy as the non-devotees class of men proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path? Meditation on impersonal is very difficult. And study the scriptures, understanding the scriptures correctly, that is even more difficult. So if they think the path of bhakti is very easy, why don't they take up this path? But the point is, it's not that easy. Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The so-called path of bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. It's not that easy. Srila Rupa Goswami writes in his Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhimbina Ekantiki Hare Raghutte Utpate Kalpate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic scriptures like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Narad Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. So the so-called path with unauthorized, people make up their own ways. That might be easy. But the authorized way is not that easy. It is not possible for the Brahman realized impersonalist or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, as the son of Mother Yashoda or the charioteer of Arjuna. They cannot understand. How can Supreme Lord, who is omniscient, omnipotent, he has everything, all the opulences, how can he be tied up with it by his mother to a small mortar, and he could not even untie himself? And how can the Supreme Lord take the position of a charioteer for this warrior? That's a very low position, like a driver for my car. They cannot understand Krishna. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Muyanti yata surya. Great demigods. Brahmaji was confused. Indra was confused. Shivji gets confused. So what to speak of us? Mam tu vedna kaschan. No one knows me as I am, the Lord says. And if one does know him, then so Mahatma Sudurlava. Such a great soul is very rare. So we might not know about Krishna, or we might not know a lot about Krishna, but at least the devotees, their good qualities is we don't have doubts about Krishna. We might not know completely, yeah, fine. So I'm a very low devotee. You pick me up. So this surrender of devotee, this is what pleases Krishna. This humble approach of devotee is what pleases Krishna. That they're not challenging me. And another thing about bhakti. In the beginning, we don't know about Krishna. So when we are progressing in bhakti, we get to know more and more and more and more, realize more and more and more about Krishna. And when we achieve perfection, then what? Then we still forget about Krishna. Forget about Krishna means we don't want to know him as the Supreme Personality of God. Gopis didn't treat him as Supreme Lord. His friends, Gopsakhas, the Gopas are in different categories. They definitely did not treat Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Yashoda Maya Nanda Baba didn't treat him as Supreme Lord. This Bhagwan treatment only comes in Bhakti Yoga process. That's it. In Golok Vrindavan, nobody treats him as Supreme Lord. His friends, his servants also don't, because the love takes over. And that is what we are trying to develop. In Tattva, yes, he is the Supreme Lord. But in practice, in love, we don't say that. But this love, this bhav is different from bhavukta. That in bhavukta, unauthorized, bhavukta means unauthorized way. Then people say, oh, he is my lover and I'm his lover and this and that. But first we have to know him in truth, then we can make further progress. Not that sentimentally we say some things. Therefore, unless one practices devotion service to the Lord, one cannot know Krishna as he is, tattva, even though one is a great scholar or philosopher. Only the pure devotees can know something of the inconceivable, transcendental qualities in Krishna. His being the cause of all causes, his omnipotence and opulence, and his wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Because Krishna is benevolently inclined to his devotees. He is the last word in Brahman realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. Devotees. And how? Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavid grayam indriya. Sevan mukhya hi jibvat. Swayameva spurati abra. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses. But he reveals himself to the devotees. Why? Being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. So then this is how devotees make further and further progress. Okay, I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Nice class, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, chalo, we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.